you even need high-res music to get the best sound? Because let's face it, that's what we're all after, right? The best sound? Is high-res audio the door to audio nirvana? Or is it just a sticker being slapped on anything?
A toy truck? Boom! It's a
high resolution.
speaker. Even your sneaker? Boom! It's a
high resolution
speaker.
That's what we're going to talk about today. And the best thing is you don't need equipment at all. You can figure this out on your own in the next hour. And I'm going to tell you how to do that. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's unpack high-res music and whether you need it. But first, we got to go back to the beginning. So let's rewind, or just skip the tracks, because now we don't have to rewind because the CD is a thing. I use this CD as a prop in so many videos, and I've used it so often that I can literally just go back to my CD rack and grab it, because it's Will Smith's Big Willie style. Anyway, Will Smith's not important. What is important is this is the CD. This gave us 16-bit 44.1 kilohertz. Those numbers aren't important. What is important is that this was the beginning of digital music for consumers. Now, CDs led to ripping. Ripping led to MP3s. MP3s led to Napster, and Napster led to iTunes, and then iTunes led to Spotify in 2007. I think one of the important things to remember is that CDs came on albums. With MP3s and Napster and iTunes and Spotify, we kind of shifted from an album-centric listening to track level listening. To be fair, that really started with cassette tapes and mixtapes. But MP3s, Napster, iTunes, and eventually streaming services really was the nail in the album coffin. But let's face this, most of us do use streaming services. That's why you should check out today's sponsor. Have you ever had one of those things that you didn't know existed, but once you found out about it, you can't live without it? Well, that's how I feel about Opera Browser. I'm online all day, every day, and obviously I love to listen to music. With Opera's built-in player, you can stream music while you browse. You can choose from 7 different streaming services all in one place. So instead of having to click between different tabs if you want to change your music, the music player lives its own beautiful life, separated from what you've been doing. You can even detach it from the side and move it anywhere, even outside the browser window. Opera also has a really cool split screen function. If I'm doing research and I need to see 2 tabs open at the same time, the only thing that I have to do is pull down on one of the tabs, and I don't have to mess around with changing the size to fit my monitor. And I almost always have 10 tabs open. And I don't know where to go. But here comes the tab traces feature. The tab you were on most recently gets a darker underline. So if you've got like 20 tabs open, the one you just visited will have the darkest underline. So it's super easy to find the tabs you're actually using. But it goes further than that because Opera has tab islands. I can group my tabs by topic. So all related tabs live together. It makes it way easier to find what I'm looking for, and I can just expand or collapse them whenever I need. And we have to talk about Aria, Opera's built-in AI. If you have a question or need to do some quick research, just hit the shortcut and a command line pops up right in the browser. You can ask it anything. You can make the browser look any way that you want with a bunch of different themes. You can change the colors. You can also pop out a video and put it anywhere on the screen that you want. I can't imagine being online without Opera now. And I think you might feel the same if you just give it a try. If you want to support the channel, you should support the sponsors of the channel and give Opera Browser a try. Links are in the description and it's free to download. As we said before, the CD started with the Red Book standard, 16-bit, 44.1 kilohertz. Well, with high-res, they bumped that up to 24-bit, 96 kilohertz, or even up to 192 kilohertz. What does it all mean, Randy? Well, I'm glad you asked. Think of digital music as taking a picture. A CD is like an old 12 megapixel picture. Still makes good pictures. The first number is the bit depth. Think of bit depth as the number of shades of color that might be in a picture. More shades of color, the better the picture, right? The sample rate, 44.1 in the case of CDs, or 96 or 192 kilohertz in high res is how many times a second the camera is taking a snapshot of the picture. So for CDs, that's 44,100 times per second. In high res, that's 96,000 times a second, or 192,000 times per second. Now the high res audio sticker basically meant that whatever device it was slapped on could go up to 40,000 hertz.
A toy truck? Boom! It's a
High resolution.
speaker.
Now we're not talking about sample rate, we're talking about the ability for that piece of equipment to play up to 40,000 hertz.
Even your sneaker, boom! It's a
High resolution.
speaker.
Sounds impressive, right? Well, humans can't really hear above 20,000 hertz anyway. That, again, is another video in and of itself. Now we got a whole bunch more information to make our music better. So Qobuz and Tidal were kind of the first streaming services that offered high-res music. Then you had Amazon HD. You have Apple Music, which is lossless and high-res now. And those high-res stickers got put on everything.
Turn that pizza box into a
High resolution.
speaker that rocks.
Speakers, amps, toasters. It was kind of deja vu all over again when CDs were released, because up to that point, all of the music was on analog. This is a Kicks vinyl. So you had cassette tapes and records, analog, right? Well, when CDs came out and they started re-releasing the older albums on CD, there was a sticker for that too. It was called digitally remastered. That sticker got put on everything. The problem is it didn't really mean much. And marketing loves to use phrases like studio quality, digitally remastered, high-res audio. However, it's like putting a 200 mile per hour speedometer in your Kia Sorento. It may look impressive, but it doesn't mean the equipment's actually gonna do 200 miles an hour. And let's face it, you're probably gonna be driving it in bumper-to-bumper traffic anyway.
I was stuck in traffic.
Like origami.
Tidal wanted to stand out. So they were championing a different technology. It's called MQA. And it made sense. The pitch was high-res music files are big and it's difficult to stream them. So what MQA did was it took that beautiful high-res file, folded it all up,
Like origami.
and then threw it over to you and your equipment, unfolded it,
Like origami.
and then pumped it through your speakers. Sounded great, right? But in practice, it was kind of like The Fly, the second one with Jeff Goldblum in it. Remember, he gets in one pod? So that pod is where the music starts, the MQA pod. The one that he travels to is your pod. Well, what happens sometimes is what you get on this side isn't what went in on this side. And in poor Jeff Goldblum's case, there was a little bit extra. And on top of that, MQA also came with licensing fees for everybody. I made a video about this, which I will link at the end of this video. It's a very interesting video. Once that MQA dumpster fire kind of got out into the public, well, it lost all of its cachet. But high-res did not. Eventually, MQA was out at Tidal and FLAC was in at Tidal. Still high-res.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. I love counting whatever the amount.
More equals better, right? Well, audiophiles and people in general love numbers. You remember the receivers at Best Buy? It would say 100 watts per channel. But if you read the fine print, that might be peak power at 10% THD. More power, more megapixels, 8K monitor, more is better, right? It's kind of basically meaningless, but it keys in on a psychological aspect of humans. When you have so many different choices, you get a little bit on the inside. And making the right choice gives us relaxation, gives us confidence that we didn't make the wrong choice. And if you can look at a spec sheet or you can look at some numbers, well, it's easier not to second guess yourself. What if I told you those numbers, even if they're legitimate numbers, doesn't really matter? Well, if that doesn't matter, then what does matter?
I'm not hearing the difference.
Well, what if I told you in about 20 minutes you could figure out whether high-res music makes any difference at all? Would you believe me? And would you want to do it? Well, you can. The NPR Blind Listening Test. It's brilliant. You can go to it right now. I will link it in the description. What it does is takes a track and it plays it in 320 kilobits per second, which is the resolution that Spotify streams, the MP3 resolution. It also streams it in, I think, 160 kilobits per second, and then in high res. And then you listen to it and then you try to pick out which one you think is high res. I've done this multiple times, and the result? So those numbers make us feel all yummy inside. But what really makes a difference is, well, your system, your setup. Most importantly, the mastering of the track that you're listening to. Remember when I told you about that high-res sticker? Well, it's being slapped on everything from little tiny Bluetooth speakers to toasters.
A toy truck? Boom! It's a
High resolution.
speaker.
So that sticker isn't magically going to make something sound better. It's the music's still coming out of the speaker or through the digital to analog converter, through the amplifier. What really makes a difference is your gear. A digital to analog converter can have a high-res sticker on it. Right here. High-res audio. Now, this is actually a pretty good DAC. But if this was a bad DAC and it still had the sticker, well, this DAC sounds better than the bad DAC, even though they both have the sticker. Why? Analog output stages. The way that they design the circuits. It's kind of like putting a turbo on that Kia Sorento. It might fit, it might work, but the suspension, the drivetrain, everything about that, if you're making 700 horsepower in your Kia Sorento, the rest of the parts and pieces aren't going to be able to support all that extra horsepower. But most importantly, the magic is really in the mastering, how that song was recorded. And here's the thing, I think CDs sound better anyway. High res in and of itself is not the villain and is also not the hero. What's really the hero is the music itself and how it was recorded and how it was mastered. It's also your gear, your CD player, your streamer, your digital to analog converter, your amplifier, your speakers, your room. In my opinion, all play a much bigger role than anything that has this sticker on it. The takeaway is enjoy the music and trust your ears. And don't ever make a decision based on the high-res designation. It's really not a gimmick, but the way that it was marketed makes us think that it's way more important than it actually is.
It's not magic.
At the end of the day, garbage is garbage. Whether that track is an MP3 or it's the highest of fidelity through a 24-bit 192 kilohertz FLAC track. And if you want to know for yourself, go right now, click on that link in the description and take the test for yourself. And then come back and put it in the comments whether or not you got them all right. Oh yeah, and you remember Spotify, the only streaming service that doesn't stream in high res or lossless? They're the one with the most subscribers. So maybe that should tell you something. If you like this video, why don't you check out my video I made about MQA. I will put that right up here. I'll also put something up over here about CDs. Thanks so much for watching.
A toy truck? Boom! It's a
High resolution.
speaker. Even your sneaker? Boom! It's a
High resolution.
speaker.